The kids are eating avocados in the afternoon. Have an avo in the avo.
How I get the windows to go in the places I like. Oh, there we go.
Parch department.
Please make my head 1/10 the size.
Yeah, you're like high fidelity camera, and I'm like potato cam. I need to set it up so I can start using my phone. It's good.
We've probably talked about this. It's got to be the most expensive camera product in the world, right? Like, you imagine the billions of dollars spent on making that camera.
So true. Yeah. Hey, go, man.
And the kids are up.
What do you mean? I'm at work.
When do they wake?
Yeah.
Oh, you are? I can't tell. It's too blurry.
Oh, dear.
Where are you at work?
I'm out in the office today. I was about to set up in my cubby, and then I realized I couldn't record with a dead laptop screen because I wouldn't be able to see you. So I very quickly moved all of the things back out into the office. Made some coffee. Now I'm ready.
What's the story about your laptop?
Well, yeah, I think on last week's pod I complained of it starting to die. It was showing some signs of life.
There's a little bit of foreshadowing there.
And then about 2 days later, it just went fully dark. Still, it's a desktop now. I guess it's a Mac Mini. So it's still working. It's just a bit limited in terms of its
just rip that screen right off.
Yeah, I wonder if I could. Still need the webcam. Maybe I don't. And I
just saw a video about somebody saying they have a headless Mac. Headless MacBook. I was thinking about your laptop during this. It's like, I bet Jen could use this information.
So the closest Apple store's in Melbourne, about an hour and 20 away, and I don't have time to get there, and don't really have time for any computerless downtime. So I've just ordered another one already, which is shipping next week. And then at some point when I have time, I'll go and get this one repaired or replaced or whatever they decide is allowable within warranty or not. Because the business was sort of on...
So did you get an M2?
Yeah, I got an M2 Max. Yeah, silly money. I was like, it's my primary tool. I'd spend so much time on this machine. As well, make it as quick as possible within reason. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
it's like one thing I always convince myself is worth the money is whenever my computer's feeling slow, I'm like, this is how we make all the money, right? It's like it's the first CNC that touches the parts.
Yeah. So there you go. That's my story. How are you going on this balmy Friday?
It's doing all right. Yesterday actually it rained and was 66. I don't never do the math on the fly, but 19 degrees.
Please hold for selfies.
It's pretty good. It's been cooler, which has been nice. A little warmer today. I'd say my biggest thought of the week was, again, in thinking about bringing new people on board with all the apps and software. I sent you my mind map of software.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I do not remember. Let's see. It's probably in the 20 apps or so, which is, like, I feel bad about that at the moment. And I start to thinking and like probably defending my decisions over time and how we got here. Like 2017, the options felt really slim. I'm still not seeing in looking now, like what could solve more of our problems within one piece of software, what we need software for, but the total amount of money is over $500 a month in software / website stuff. And that feels like a lot for so many different things. And so that kind of puts a budget in my head of, all right, well, how can we solve this better? Hopefully eliminating a bunch of what I'm now calling like Unitasker apps. Right? They're just like, they only do one thing. It's just kind of on its own. It's good. I think it's good to review it and think about it again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some of these I've never heard of. There's a lot in there. Amazing. Yeah,
Right.
I'd love to do this for our business. It's super interesting. How long did it take you to do this little assessment?
I want to say 15 to
So,
30 minutes.
Yeah. Awesome.
I mean, like a lot of it's just like, oh, I forgot this
Yeah.
one. I forgot another one, and I just throw it in there the next day. And I mean,
and then
I
you have to get a Miro
I like the
subscription
idea.
to make it,
I mean,
right?
I think
Yeah.
exactly. I don't have the.
I need to make
no, it's
flowcharts
free.
now.
But yeah, right. This is a thing you need. I guess part of my thought of bringing it up, which I feel like I'm hoping for a more hopeful situation, but it's like if somebody has a solution to better software to run these kind of businesses, we have a weird case in that we do our own products and service, and I don't know that we're going to find anything that solves both of those things, but I think separately, I have to say that at this point, I think Airtable is part of the problem for us now. Like, I don't think it's solving it solves a problem, but it is a very, what is the word? It's just like there's so many, the way I've set it up over time, there's so many separate places where things are stored, and then those don't always play nicely with other things. And I think the UI is pretty terrible for quick analysis and use, especially when you're new to it. Even when I'm not new to it, I'm like scrolling long pages of records and
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm kind of looking for new solutions, but I'm not going to jump anything quick. I wanted to solve a bunch of stuff for us within one piece of software and not more singular apps for singular things.
Yeah. Out of interest, have you put this problem to the robots?
Yeah, I have a little bit. I should probably give it more information. But part of the GPT problem is it's stuck 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't know the new things. I'll say the one that struck me recently that might be of use to you, even though it's not going to serve your custom needs at all, it was called Katana MFQ, I think, like
Yeah.
MRP, Katana MRP. And it seems to be really good for managing a product manufacturing company. So like it would be for like your products, not for manufacturing other people's things, which is a little frustrating. I wish I could do both. And then I would be like, this is it. This is our stuff. This is what we need.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's a funny problem, isn't it? Like our Airtable stack our overall software stack looks very similar to yours. It's a bit out of hand, but yeah, similar complaints with Airtable. Just like we've built this awesome, complex, hefty thing that's a bit clunky and slow and not great for certain types of data, and certainly not great for all the sorts of people who work in a small creative business like ours. It's not necessarily well suited to communicating clearly and quickly with people like us. And yeah, it would be lovely to start from scratch, but yeah, I don't think that's happening anytime soon. We've got plans to do sort of an overhaul of how our production tagging system works and how that taps into sales, kind of like we were talking about the other day of like sales views, Gants that talk to production Gants. But, all that's really doing is trying to sort of, it's adding complexity, but trying to sort of streamline the output a bit so make it work a little bit harder, make it a bit smarter. But
I think for me, the biggest problem with how it works is if they could let us search across things better.
Yeah.
Like it is so siloed in what you can search for. Like it's basically view based. That's like 4 levels down from where I want to be searching. And even when you search, it's pretty bad. It's not very intuitive. And I think that's one of the biggest like speed of use problems. But anyway, just, throwing it out there. I know some people have used like these no code solutions, and moderately interested in that. I guess I'm more interested at this point in like a decent. I don't think it's going to be a pro shop. They're still pretty niche or like specific use cases that I don't think fit us. So, I mean, the one dream was like, let's learn Python and then try to make our own software. But it's like, 6 years later, I might have something useful.
And like realistically, how much of like if you got an off the shelf, what are they called? ERP?
Yeah, I guess.
Like how much of that stack would that actually replace? Like Airtable, sure.
Right.
But yeah, you've got so much, like you've got your whole sort of education sector, you got your website. You need to get rid of Squarespace, surely. Roll that into Shopify.
Right. That's currently happening. Been migrating. One of the problems, weird little fun problems about that is we used a tool to migrate that was like $120. It migrated all the posts and stuff, but it didn't move the images from all the posts and the pages. So they're still from the CDN from Squarespace in Shopify. Like the URLs are still going back to Squarespace. So it's like
Joy.
We're literally having to go find the images and move them. And so it's in the process. I think by next month we should be able to kill it off, and that'll be nice because that'll simplify one more thing. It's kind of like, it's like the cleaning shop of apps.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we just the other day, we're in a meeting here, we were talking about how we need like a lean day for software. Like we plan lean days for the workshop, but we definitely need a software lean day as well, or a week. Just kind of tidy things up, streamline.
Right.
Because it's deep work, takes time to do it well, and and even just to plan it and make sure everyone's on the same page of what the solution is actually trying to solve and how we're going to do it. And yep.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
I had a thought overnight, and maybe this is too big a question to sort of jump into on the fly, but how do you feel about innovating on live jobs? So we've got let me try and articulate it better. So what I feel like the way we've sort of grown the business is by taking risks and, solving. A customer comes to us with a problem. We're like, oh yeah, we can do something about that. Not quite sure how we're going to solve this bit, but I reckon we can do something like this, blah, blah, blah. It's a solution we might not have done before, but we're confident that we can give it a go and work it out.
Right.
We take on the work, we work it out. We might have some issues, but ultimately we solve it. And then, the customer gets a solution which is more unique and more sort of closely aligned to their needs, and the business gets kind of R&D development skills,
Skill
points. Yeah, exactly. In some question, and it can end us in sticky situations where it's like, shit, that didn't work. Got to go back to that job again and fix that up. And ultimately getting it to a point where it is successful, but it can take a lot longer or be more involved. Some questions thrown back and forth here about like, should we be doing that at all on live work, or should, like, if there's new solutions, should they be developed in complete isolation in sort of R&D time within the business, and then once they're kind of like tick, yes, we can do that successfully, then roll it out. So for example, like mini example is like folding aluminium brackets in-house. Like, yes, we can machine aluminium, tick. Do we have folding equipment? No. Can we kind of hack it and make it up and fold our own brackets? Yes. Reasonably well. But, it's a bit janky, whatever. And I was, interested in your thoughts on that, because, like, for me, I find it a really challenging question, because I'm like, but that's how we got here. It's like, 15 years of taking these risks. Like, that's all we are.
Right.
And so the idea of like making a hard and fast rule of like, no, we will not do this on a live job is like, oh, struggle.
I think this is how we turn into conservatives as we get older, right? That's what happens in America. The older you get, the more conservative you get, and you get burned by those bad experiences and you start to filter down towards what's safe, what's profitable. But I mean, I was just describing to a friend that stopped by yesterday, and he had his friend here. We were giving him a little tour, and they were kind of asking, like, how'd this all happen? And I basically was like, an accident and taking on work that nobody else wanted to do. That's the story of how we started Portland CNC. It was like, I wanted to make my own products, and then nobody wanted to make them. And so I started making them, which maybe was a sign, right? Like, maybe I shouldn't be making that thing. But also, I mean, we wouldn't be here still if we wouldn't have found some niche of, weird projects to take on. And I think we've gotten a lot better at picking the ones that we know we can safely live innovate, like you're saying. Like, we still do a lot of stuff we've never done before. Like, I mean, we just did a giant tooling foam mold this year that had a ton of risk associated, because if you mess it up, you got to pay for the material to do it again. And it's like, you don't make any money on it. So I just had watched NYCNC's second, I think it's Born in Coke, maybe is how you say it, tour.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you saw the first one, but they are a wild company somewhere in America that is a OEM, seemingly, or like they make their own like dozen brands of kind of, I guess how I consider them, fairly old school styles of manufacturing machines, like really unique things like broachers and gear hobbers, which I barely understand. And they had them come back again, and I kind of remember the first one, and it struck me last night of, there must be a lot of money, or a decent amount of money in it that they can always make, but these machines that they were tearing down to nothing, like bare metal again, and rebuilding completely with like new Fanuc controls, and taking this ancient machine. And it just struck me as you're saying, like, that's pretty innovative, right? Like, even though they're old machines, who wants to do that? Who is taking on those risks of like, yeah, we can do it. We can definitely tear down your 1880, whatever grinding machine and turn it into this high precision, born again, today's technology machine. Like, so, it's a weird example, but I think personally, you kind of die if you don't keep taking on risks and small innovations. And I think people thrive on that as long as it's not too stressful. It's like, you got to find the right people that want to do it. But I don't know if you're going to be if that's what you're known for, like, are you going to change that?
Yeah.
Why are you going to change it, I guess?
Yeah. And even if it's not what you're known for, if that's part of your process, I feel like it would be really stifling to not operate like that. But maybe there is a different model. If we could prove that we could somehow run a sort of concurrent sort of internal stream of R&T and somehow justify the time and resources to do that. And it was like, cool, Skunkworks, we've got this project coming up. In the next 3 weeks, can you focus on this? Because it's going to be critical to solving this job that's in the pipeline. And it's just like, you clearly delineate and divert some energy and go, cool. Which it's kind of just formalizing it. Like, it should kind of happen like that anyway. Like, if you've got a challenging job coming up, of course, part of doing that job is solving those problems, ideally in a timely manner, well before the job's due. And I think that's where we've run into problems in the past, is like that little on-the-fly R&D work has happened too late in the piece with not enough time to refine or resolve things.
I think in like what I tried to do for a while, which I didn't fully know what I was doing, I was making it up, kind of merging a couple industries of my understanding of like prototyping something for somebody, and like it was always tough because all of the client we were working with, they never really had the budget or the timeline for it to work. But in my opinion, it should have always been like, all right, you've got an idea, we can go through it, figure it out. But that's not a production job. That's an R&D job. We'll give you a budget. We think we can do it within. We'll figure it out. When it's figured out, then we'll give you a quote for production. But like, we can't do both. I could never figure out how to do both. And a lot of those ended up not going through because they didn't want to. They didn't have the time or the money usually. So I think it takes the right clients. Maybe.
Yeah, we had a job like that recently where we did the first stage sort of on that provision of like, cool, we're going to make your prototype for you because there's so many unknowns. We're not, we'll estimate production pricing, but we're not going to give you a solid quote on production pricing until we've done this prototyping phase. And in this instance, they did have the budget to go through that prototyping stage. And then we got to the end of the prototyping stage and we're like, nah, this is not for us. Like, too fiddly, not aligned to our processes. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think that to me, that makes it way more fair that you've set up the expectations of that this is maybe you don't have to say that at the outset that maybe we won't take your production job, but it's like, you're still making your money. And there's no expectation of like that you're getting 1,000 parts too.
Yeah.
I'll switch it up a little bit. I'll link those. That tour is really good. I think you should watch it too. It might help. There was some of the process they were talking about, even like how they test out a machine before they send it to the customer, and so I think it's kind of similar. I'll switch it up a little bit here and ask if I give you a couple tools, CNC tools, meant to cut wood or plywood or timber in your parlance. How would you torture test them to find out how long they could last?
Okay, so you're just dropping some tools on my doorstep and you want them torture tested.
Right. And say, compare these to what you normally run and like, can you think of a system that would appropriately test them?
I can think of plenty of inappropriate.
Not that we need to go into a full detail, but just in short.
Well, that's challenging because you can't, I don't know, in my mind, you can't run timber tools lights out. So it kind of rules out any sort of long automated torture testing cycles.
Unless you had like a cobot that was following it with a heat sensor and a fire extinguisher.
Yet another use for a cobot.
Right.
Australian hardwoods are pretty brutal. So let's start with, some ironbark. May as well start with the hardest timber available.
Oh.
And
do you make swords from that?
No. I think, there probably are traditional,
name.
Like First Nations weapons made from ironbark, I reckon. But what would I do? I don't know. Set up. It's kind of, you could be really unfair. Like, what are you testing? Are you testing like the kinematics of the machine, or like are you testing the sort of the tooling? Like, more context, please.
I'm glad that it's not an easy answer. That was kind of my point, I suppose, was we're analyzing some potential offerings, and it has been surprisingly hard to find the way to fairly compare tools. I think if I was to do this for aluminum parts in the mill, it would be a pretty easy task. But there's something about it for the router that just, with woods, that doesn't feel like there's a straightforward answer, or that your outcome is going to be truthful. I mean, it also started to make me think, let's think about the compression cutter in general. Like the forces on those tools is absolutely ridiculous. It's literally forcing material to the center. Like, how is the heat escaping? Where do the chips really go? Yeah. Like, I've really been melting my brain a little bit in the last couple of weeks about trying to analyze this and like think of how to be fair to a comparison test. And we're attempting to film video kind of correlating to it. So I haven't really come up with much. It's just kind of, we have a couple ideas, but they're not great. I don't feel like.
Are you testing tooling or the machine itself?
Tooling.
I think I misunderstood your question.
I can torture test a machine.
Sorry, I
too,
thought you were torture testing machines. Tooling. Oh,
no, tooling.
Yeah. No, my comment stands on the timber for sure. Iron bark is like cutting steel at times. Like when I built my deck at home out of iron bark, we went through so many like countersinking drill bits, just like hand countersinking all the holes for the decking screws, because it just destroys tools. It's amazing. I wonder if you can get it over there.
Trying to see if it's on the ink hardness test.
Oh yeah,
I don't see it.
Oh, there's definitely harder woods, but in terms of Australian natives, it's up there.
It's literally got iron in it apparently.
No. Yeah, okay.
Anyway.
Cool. You could do like the titans of CNC, like stupid full depth, single pass hogging, like 2-inch material. See what you can break. See what fires you can start.
I mean, I may have to.
And we're back.
At the end of it. I think the first one would be pretty good, though. That's a video.
Yeah, I agree. You get some good YouTube vitriol, I think. Hi. Get those negative comments.
Well, hate, outrage is what fuels virality sometimes.
What else is cooking? I got to run machines yesterday. That happened. That was novel. Woo!
What'd you run?
A whole lot of cabinet parts. Got a big job of hoop pine carcasses.
Do you want me to make that go away for you?
And we've got 2-3 people away next week, so we've got a big hole in the production staffing that needs filling. So yeah, had the day on the machines. I'll probably do some more this weekend, just trying to get this job sort of up to a point so we can just be like sanding and sealing next week, try and get it ready for install. But it was fun. So nice to be out on the machines for a change. My moon booted ankle didn't appreciate it. At the end of the day, I was like, ugh.
I was going to ask you how that's going, where you were at with your...
It's going well. It's going really well. Technically, the boot comes off for good next week. But having done a day of wasn't even a full day, like half day realistically of machine time of like wrangling sheets on and off the machine, my ankle says, ouch, that's more weight than you've put on us for a while. So yeah, it's
a pretty rigorous thing to do, especially if you don't do it every day or even a few times a week. It's like, oh boy, now my back hurts and my arms and my shoulders and my hips. So
I've probably pushed it a bit hard this week, but
that's good.
Yeah, no, good. What about you? What are you making?
Oh, we had an inquiry about, we kind of always get every once in a while new inquiries about, hey, can you make a dust boot for my machine? You know, it's like something either I haven't heard of or just, you know, there's all different types, all different combinations. And in this case, it was like, oh, actually, I've been wanting to make one for the Avids routers, which are pretty popular here in the States. They're, I'd say, more on the hobby end, but they're really flexible and like made out of like 80/20 style extrusion. They have some decent spindles on them. And so fairly quickly just changed one of our plates, the mounting hole, which I always thought, oh, we could do this. And we haven't gotten to that point. Made it in, the turnaround was basically a day from the time it was shipped and the next day they had it and put it on. And
No
it's
way.
on our Instagram now. So if that works out for them, we will likely have a new dust boot
That's awesome.
for Avid spindles, Avid machines. But yeah, it's pretty sweet. So I think, and also that's a fairly popular off the shelf. I think it's Heitco 4 horsepower,
Okay.
75 millimeter mount. So I actually had another customer that has a different machine, had the same diameter, that had been in our queue of like inquiries that were like, well, someday we may get there. And then I was like, hey, we made 2 in like a week. And I was like, well, that was good. So if you have an Avid, we are looking at the larger spindle size. There's a couple different spindle sizes, but for now we've likely will have a 75 millimeter mount, which is the 4 horsepower Heitco. And we'll see. See how it goes.
Cool. They seem like a pretty popular
Nice
machine.
quick turnaround.
I feel like I've even seen them here.
I almost bought one at one point.
Cool.
They used to be called CNC router parts, and they rebranded a couple of years back, but they're just outside Seattle and some good company.
Yeah. Sick.
I think it's the basis for Grimsmo's machine, his
Yeah,
router.
it was,
I think he
wasn't
upgraded
it?
some
Yeah.
stuff to it, maybe.
Yep. That rings a bell. his description recently of like slapping laser PVC on the outside of the enclosure made me squirm a little bit. But it makes sense.
Yeah.
I think the laser was a bit of a
Yeah, I get it.
retrofit.
I've had a lot of people ask us about lasers, and they're really popular on Chop Savers. The kind of retrofit laser setups. I just have never felt never seemed right for us. Speaking of lasers, ours has not been working well for a few reasons. Basically, since we got it working yesterday. I spent about a couple hours, and it finally got it all aligned. The lasers, which was a little bit off from the factory, but the bigger problem was something stupid. The honeycomb tray was resting on the frame in the back and not flat on the knife edges. And so when you go to align it up and down, no wonder the backside wasn't. Just like didn't spend enough time looking at it, basically. So we cut some pieces yesterday. It cut great.
Cool.
And I think we're going to be trying to engrave some of our new product line brand-wise. And then we really got it for packaging. So Ricky's got this backlog of all different types of packaging inserts we want to make. So when he gets freed up, he's going to start doing some of that stuff.
Yeah, cool. Cool. Did you do
Finally.
Yeah, finally, right? That's cool. Jay and I were both working yesterday, and Jay was dispatching orders while I was running the machine. For reference, yesterday was Friday, so normally no one works on Friday, but we're kind of pushing extra hours at the moment. It was funny because both Jay and I had the sort of thing of like, normally we're very office-based, and so Jay was in dispatch and going like,
Hey, what are you doing out here?
And I was on the CNC, and it's like, I think it reminded both of us of like how important it is to just get out onto the floor sometimes and be like, oh, these cartons are crap. We need to improve the cartons for this product because it's like real janky. The way you got to wrap the tape around here to making sure it stays in and blah, blah, blah. And, you didn't have this experience yesterday on the machines, but often when I sort of step out into the machines, I have, little moments of like, oh yeah, wouldn't it be nice to improve that? And it's just that sort of, it's not saying that the guys that are doing that every day are missing stuff. It's just that sort of fresh perspective of stepping into something that maybe you used to do or see something with different eyes and see room for improvement.
Right. I think that's so crucial. It's kind of like the example of, having a new hire and going through all our apps again. It's like, I think if you don't have that culture of acceptance that it's not critical about the person or the people doing the thing repetitively, it's literally the most important part is the person that's naive to it. I think that's the critical aspect of like that improvement capability is somebody that goes up and, you know, you have to do it with the right tone, but it's not like, what the hell is wrong with you guys? Why have you been doing it this way? It's like, I think we can do this better. What if we did it this way? Right. Like, and I think that kind of improvement, I'm sure the Japanese have a great word for it, but we're just learning it. So
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely did have a sense of like, because John had sort of nested this job for me before he left for the week. And so I was just running through his nest and posting code and sending it to the machine. And I was simulating stuff as I went and just double checking to try and catch any issues before it went to the machine. But I'm definitely feeling rusty in old Fusion. Bloody hell. I need to get my teeth back into it. Like, I haven't really spent much time at all with all those new selection tools in CAM, like the silhouette and profile stuff. It's looking really good in terms of better control compared to how it used to be.
Yep.
And just faster.
Yeah, it's been
by the look of it.
Definitely faster to set some stuff up. But I think they've come a really long way with the nesting extension, particularly with advanced arrange. And honestly, without advanced arrange, it's kind of barely usable. The commercial, like, I tried to have, you know, somebody do that here without the extension, and it was like, oh, you can't. Oh, yeah, that's not going to work. Like, there's just almost nothing you can do with it unless you're a hobbyist.
Yeah,
and don't care at all about what you're
without
nesting.
that extension, you mean?
Which is like, when does that happen? You know, like, when do you not care? If you're nesting, you care. Otherwise, you just drag them into place.
Yeah, true.
Do you have any other last thoughts?
Final thoughts? Nah, I'm going to go jump out in the machines again. Run a few more sheets.
Sounds good. Ooh,
spicy. Cool, man. Goodbye, crispy Justin.
Okay.
You're looking very on brand with your new Ken Barbie CNC shirts, actually. You got that Ken stubble.
I don't have those yet. Right. I showed them to a friend who's not in the industry, and he's like, "Oh my God, you are absolutely CNC Ken." And I was like, "Damn it! All right, I guess that makes sense."
It's true. Goodbye, CNC Ken.
Bye, potato, Jim.
I'll be potato, Mr. Potato Head. Goodbye.
Do you have an Australian nickname for potatoes?
Spuds.
Yeah.
Do you?
Got that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nothing like, what do you call it? What was the afternoon thing?
Arvo.
Arvo. I looked up the etymology. That's from like the early 1900s.
Sure.
That surprised me. That's wild. I would have thought it was like some new thing that the kids were doing.
The kids are eating avocados in the afternoon. Have an avo in the arvo. Goodbye. Before I scare all our Australian audience away. I'm sorry. Bye.
Bye.
Ding.
Ding. I stopped it.